afternoon, everyone. And yes, I'm saying once again because we've had the honor of having our speaker earlier as well, and he's brought his expert advice to Innovate Talks. And once again, we are going to be witnessing this. So we have here in our midst a consultant and advisory service provider in the field of relation to foreign trade policies, GST, FEMA, RBI, customs, and other allied subjects related to exports and imports. So if that is what you are talking of and that is what you are thinking of, then I think that's the best person to give you the right advice today. So a warm welcome to you all, and over to our speaker, Mr. Mihir Shah. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. Just a quick update, by the way. It's Happy New Year. For many of you, it is probably the first session of the 2025. And what a delight, na? आप मेरे को सुनोगे. Wow. जिसको कोई घर पे भी नहीं सुनता, आप उसको सुनोगे. Congratulations. Wow, thank you so much, sir. Achha, just for people at the back, we don't have reservations in the front. So feel free to come ahead if you wish to. For next 45 minutes or so. Yes, please, sorry. You.
Sorry to interrupt, but as I mentioned earlier, sir has been part of our sessions earlier as well, I remember and I recall. Trust me when I say this, you can get the best जाना हो, that's a different thing. मगर फिर भी अगर आप आगे आओगे, it'll be very, very, very helpful. Trust me on that. So please step forward. We'll give you 10 seconds to do that, and I'll hand over this to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, there's another secret for you to tell. I should tell you if you want to come ahead. आगे आओगे तो photograph में भी आओगे. If that is if that bribe works. Because nowadays you want to be on social media and everywhere. So at least if you have attended, at least get into it. Sir, I'm just kidding. No, don't worry. I mean, in fact, you're right on my wavelength, I mean, I can exactly pinpoint everything to you. All right, guys, thank you for joining in. As obviously we know, we are talking on setting up export business. Any one of you are already into exports? You are into exports? इनको एक चाय दे ज़्यादा दे देना, please. See, because for the rest of you, whatever I say, you'll accept it. It's only him I'll have to manage. और वो कॉफी से manage हो जाएंगे. Correct? So great. For next about 30 to 45 minutes, the plan is to give you a bird's eye view of what goes into setting up an export business. Maybe part of which is you're already aware of, maybe part of which you probably have heard somewhere, maybe you have already started doing it, but then we'll want to connect the dots so that you get a bird's eye view of entire thing. Obviously, it's not as limited as it looks like. In 45 minutes, acha ho gaya, company ready, wow, what a great thing. But then yes, there is some starting point, some points to take back, and maybe few actions will help you to at least initiate and start the process in terms of exports and going ahead on it. The very first thing actually comes out to my mind is, and to anybody is, why do you think or why should you think for exports? You're well settled, well established brand, well established company, maybe a first generation, maybe a second generation, maybe a third generation, because ये industry में तो fourth generation भी आ जाता है. Then why, why? You are already doing very good. From Malad to Malabar Hill, you have already moved. Then why? Well, the answer is that by any means of measurement, whether it is by industry, whether it is by capacity, whether it is by number of employees, whether it is by stock prices, whether it is by people who are at the top, if you open any of their balance sheets, you will realize that all of them, whether it is in gem and jewelry or it is in engineering, or whether it is in chemicals or garments, you will open their balance sheets and you will realize one common thing, and that is their majority of sales or good amount of sales happens through exports. So whether they are the gem and jewelries of your industry or whether they are into chemicals, if they are doing top, if they are doing good, if they are doing great, if they are doing from an X to 10X, that growth is fueled by international business. And for you, especially for people who are first the same domestic business, you will still grow. So to give that jump of 5x, 10x or the new aspects, you will have to look at exports or international business to come forward to. I practically have about 7 or 8 steps for us to discuss today. And many of them are, or all of them are actually not unknown, but it's just the context with which you have to understand. So let's start with the first one, and that's to decide. Can we switch on the podium mic so it doesn't disturb? Thank you. It's to decide. And when I say to decide, it just doesn't mean that, yes, I'm always thinking about exports. But you were thinking 3 years back also. And probably in last IIJS also you attended the session. And before that also somebody told you. And today also you're just thinking and thinking and thinking. When you say you have to decide, please remember, export cannot be a stepney. If in your business, if you are thinking कि यार मेरा धंधा तो सही चल रहा है, जब टाइम मिलेगा मैं एक्सपोर्ट भी करना चाहता हूं, आई एम सॉरी, प्लीज डोंट स्टार्ट. Export is a full-time devoted business, which means it is one of your 4 wheels. You will have to devote time, effort, money, and only then you are likely to get and see success. So when I say you decide, you have to be very clear, just like you decided that you want to join this company, just that you have decided that I want to join the business, just that you decided I want to continue the gem and jewelry business, grow in the company, you will have to decide I want to become an international company. And because you decide, and that will bring to a second most important step, and that is act. सोचने के लिए तो मैं भी every January सोचता हूँ I will start dip और कुछ नहीं, हम सब सोचते हैं ना, but then से सब सोचता हूँ, करता कुछ नहीं. So when you only think and only decide, nothing happens, so you'll have to act. And one of the first thing you have acted because you want to do export is spare next 45 minutes here, and that's actually an act. Because today, for next 45 minutes, you could have gone to any other stall, any other hall, do anything else, but you decided to do this, and that's an act. This could have been done somewhere online. JGPC does a lot of trading programs. You could have done it later. You could have done it in future, but you decided to do it now. So similarly, you have to act. And actually the best time to act in international business is when? Or when is the right time to enter export business? When was it? When is it? Is it a good time now to enter international business? Yes? Well, the best time was yesterday. You're already... अब नहीं तो कब? You are hearing for the values, you are hearing for the growth in exports. How much is your contribution? 1 rupee, 1 crore, 10 crores, 100 crores? We are not able to do it. But we are thinking and doing it that we will enter exports. हम export में जाना चाहते हैं, हम कुछ करना चाहते हैं. This is, what's up? अच्छा ये, okay, hang on. Did I close it? No. Okay. Is it better? Hello. Nahin. Hello. Yeah. Thank you. So you will have to act upon things. And when I say act, it's not just me philosophical, अच्छा आप यहाँ पे आ गए, videos देख लिए, या you really sat with somebody but do it at the ground level. Start your basic setup. It is to say that if you are starting up your international business, right from the thinking that you are forming a company, it should be an international business company and not a domestic company. So because you're going to deal in goods and especially gems and jewelry, you will obviously have a company, and that means you'll have to set up a company. Now, whether you use your existing company or you create a new company for your export business, choice is yours. I don't want to, I mean, my recommendation will be don't create a new company for the purpose of export, because it doesn't really serve any purpose unless you have any specific choice. Because legacy helps you. Not only that, a lot of other basic stuff is taken care of. But in terms of, in case you have to, you might want to think about how would you form a company, what could be the name of the company, what could be the type of the company. And when I say type, in an Indian context, you have proprietorship, partnership, an LLP, a private limited and limited. And a common sense is that business is a risky thing. You deal in gem and jewelry, more risky. And then you want to do international business, the riskier, right? Which means you should try and avoid your personal assets with your business. So preferably focus on either an LLP, a private limited or a limited. It might have an initial setup cost, but from a long-term perspective, it is better, because then my business is separate, my personal is separate. If I do profit and loss, it's okay. Airline can shut. I can go to London and enjoy. Somebody understood, somebody did not. It's okay. Achha, it can happen that IPL can go to shit, but I will go in London and enjoy. I think this will be understandable by somebody. So having a distinct entity, but more importantly, it is the context of trust, because a proprietorship company, even if it is 40, 50 years old, you can't prove the legacy, right? I have to trust you. But if you're a private limited company and if you say it's a 50-year-old company, the records will prove it. It's available in open domain. Aapka certificate of incorporation will tell what date did you open, whether you are a director or you are not the director in the company. So that trust factor, because a buyer sitting somewhere in remote location wants to trust you. And are you really a 25-year-old company or you are a 2.5-year-old company? What dot nikal diya hai? That will give you that advantage. Obviously, you will have to set up the legal requirements for your PAN card, your ROC and other things. I'll come to a bank account a little later, but very, very important and essential is the online setup, because you might be present as a company, you might be present today, you are here, but if you are not in online, your presence is, or your existence is irrelevant. So your website, www.yourdomainname.com or yourcompanyname.com is a must. How many of you have websites? Only 3 or 4 of you? 5 of you? That's it? Very difficult to survive. And when was the last time you updated your website? ये गलत पूछ लिया. Remember one formula. Every time you change your profile picture on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Instagram, you should change your website as well. इतना traffic आ जाएगा ना आपकी website पे, you'll never know, because the problem is we make it the best and we forget it for the rest. और renewal का जब भी time आएगा ना, that is the time. अच्छा, okay, now do one thing ना, कुछ update कर दे. That is the time you do it. It has to be regular. It has to be there. And trust me, it doesn't require an extraordinary skills to make a website. How many of you can upload photographs on Facebook and WhatsApp and share on Instagram? Almost all of you. How many of you have a world's beautiful phone called iPhone? At least. Okay. Extraordinary phone, but at a brand value which is cheap, called Vivo. Sabke paas, काफी लोग, right? And how many of you can, send messages on time and wish people happy birthday, good morning, good afternoon, good evening? So all of you are overqualified to design a website. तो ये मत सोचो कि यार I will not be able to do it, because you know your product well, you can click pictures, we know how we can use online systems and create it, but you need to do it because your buyer abroad is not going to come and see whether you have a 500 square feet office or a 50 square feet office. That will happen later, but first he'll have to find you online. That's very, very essential. And not only now on the website, but it is now going to be exfoliated, and you specifically deal with products which directly get human intervention, and hence social media is going to play a key role. So whether you are on Instagram, whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on Twitter or X, is very, very essential. What to post, what not to post, I'm sure there are enough material available that you can find out for. But having that is important. And I'll give you one trick. A beautiful part is that your www.yourcompany.com is a paid 500 to 5,000 rupees per year. But at the rate YouTube ID, at the rate LinkedIn, at the rate Twitter, at the rate Instagram is free. So if you have a company, so what's your company name? Sorry? Priva Jewels. So privajewels.com buy करने के लिए पैसा लगता है. But Instagram ID Priva Jewels लेने के लिए कोई पैसा नहीं लगता. If you don't take it today, then you'll have to pay 1 crore rupees like that guy had to pay for the domain. Na? Because if you want Priva Jewels. And you don't want that, my website is privajewels.com, but my Instagram ID is Priva Jewels India. Then my Twitter is Priva Jewels IND or Priva _ Jewels _ IND. ये सब नहीं चाहिए. We want to have a consistency across. So it's first come, first serve. If you have not taken, when you go back, just book kar lo, lock kar do. You can keep on having it. So whether it is your LinkedIn, whether it is your Instagram, whether it is Twitter, I don't know how many of you know there's a Indian version of Instagram called Koo. आज नहीं relevant है. हमको भी नहीं मालूम था ना Twitter would be so relevant today or Instagram would be so relevant. We were all on Facebook. Suddenly nobody goes on Facebook. So Koo पे free है आज. कोई नहीं देख रहा है. ले लो. You might have a couple of brands. Take it on that also. Keep it with you. What to put, how to use, of course there is a process for it. So social media. Of course, if you're thinking of, especially for people who are into jewelry business, not in terms of loose diamonds, but if you're into jewelry business, if you're into fashion jewelry, if you're into imitation jewelry, probably you want to also to get into registration of your e-commerce platform. Coming to one thing which I missed or I've skipped here is the bank account. Now typically, obviously, all of you have a bank account, and let me honestly tell you, this is one thing apart from a family doctor which you inherit from your people, from your fathers, from your family. एक family doctor होता है, कि आपको चाहिए नहीं तो भी वही doctor के पास जाना है, और एक bank account. So you don't make a choice typically, it is just there and then you continuing it. Now please understand, right from day one, and that's exactly why I wanted you said act. You want to start into export business. Typically, you would open a current account which either would be an ODCC limit account, but you also have to understand that you aren't going to be, or your wishful identity is to become an exporter, which means you're going to bring in foreign exchange. And much to your understanding, I'm sure that you'll have also a lot of imports to happen, whether it is through diamonds or gold or other products. Now there is a very simple math or very simple concept that when you bring in dollars, the exchange rate is different, and when you pay dollars, the exchange rate is different, the buy and the sell rate. And as an Indian company, you have no choice, but when you get the money, it has to get converted into rupees, and when you want to pay, you'll have to convert rupees to dollars. So 86 पे मिला, 87 पे खरीदना पड़ेगा. Unnecessary 1 rupee loss for no reason, no fault of yours. But that's how it is. But that's the privilege as an exporter, that you can have a current account called Exchange Earners Foreign Currency Account, EEFC. EEFC. And this is only privileged to an exporter. If you bring in $10,000 today, 7th of January, the dollars are kept with you in your EFC account as dollars until end of next month. So until 28th of February, you have a choice whether you want to use that $10,000 to pay some import payment. You want to use 5,000, convert 5,000. You want to convert all 10,000, your call, your choice, your bet. And maybe just because you have not done anything, January 7th, it was 86, 28th February, it just became 87. You did not do anything. 1 रुपया मिल गया ज़्यादा. That's your good luck. But more importantly, when you want to buy gold, when you want to buy diamonds, and when you have to pay your payment, it is a natural hedge available. Then why not use it? So the time limit is end of next month. So minimum 1 month. Because if I get payment on 31st of January, I will still have to close it by 28th of February. But if I get it on 1st of February, 31st of March. So minimum 1 month to maximum 2 months, I can hold the payment in that foreign currency. Achha, why I am saying this to do it at this point of time is a very simple thing, because neither the phone number or the bank account number we remember. Everything goes into the system. So from day one itself, when you're offering a quotation, when you're telling a buyer, when you're giving some information, anywhere and everywhere, you are only talking about that EFC account. And so what's your good name? Puneet sir, and in case you say, sir, but apna to CC limit chalu hai, interest zyada lag raha hai, fair enough. Let it come to that EFC account at, what's the time? 2:40. At 2:41, place a request, convert 10,000 to INR. It's just one click, one instruction, one email more. But it gives you a facility that you want to utilize or not. पूरा दुनिया यहाँ पे है, let me do it on next Monday. You have 1 week to hold. But he could not do it because he was getting in his current account. So having that only one facility can leverage your option. So set up your bank account as EFC account. Now all of this is obviously a normal registration and normal business setup, but इससे क्या होगा? Will you be able to start international business? Unfortunately not yet. Because for you to jump into international business, for you to start your export business, couple of things more is required in terms of the setup. Okay? And what that is? Number one, IEC. It is now electronically issued, so it is called EIC, Electronic Importer Exporter Code. Achha, by the way, all of you who are clicking pictures, please feel free to click it, but tell you honestly, at the end of the presentation, you have a QR code for which you can download the entire presentation for your reference, okay? So, I mean, exercise बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा to click multiple times, no worries. Still feel free to click, no problem. So what is an IEC? IEC stands for Importer Exporter Code. It is one sort of, you can say, a permission or license. Let me put it like this. It is your passport for the company to start going global. And Puniji, it doesn't matter whether today you want to start only imports, and maybe down the line in future you will do exports, or you wanted to start export, so you took IEC, but you saw an opportunity to import a machinery, allowed. Importer Exporter Code is given to the company, not to the product, not for a specific product, not for goods, not for services, but for everything which is legally allowed to be imported or exported. The entire process is online, mere fees is 500 rupees, and that's it. Instantaneously you will be issued an IEC, and surprisingly, or for ease of doing business, effective of July 2017, your IEC number will be exactly as your PAN number. So you don't have to remember a lot of other numbers. So when you get this IEC certificate, your IEC number is nothing but the PAN number. Till couple of years, and even now, obviously, and in general, IEC is like my marriage certificate, never expires. It's valid for life. But then I realized it is different. My marriage certificate required me to renew it every year, and that date I always forget. But this was permanent. Once issued, it is issued for life. But in recent time, in 2021, we have got a small amendment which says if you are having an IC and you are an IC holder, every financial year you need to update or keep it active. It will not get cancelled. There's no expiry, but it will get deactivated. So ना पैसे आएंगे, your transactions will become stopped. You will get frozen, stuck हो जाएंगे. So to avoid challenges, make sure that every financial year, April to June, you make sure that you update your data online on the system so that your IC remains valid. अच्छा, what happens if you have not done today this year? आज मालूम पड़ा जनवरी है, कर सकते हो? हाँ, कर सकते हो, because otherwise it will be deactivated. But April से जून चला गया है, pay 200 rupees as a penalty fee and just get it activated. And but remember, when you have done doing it in January, again you'll have to do it in April because that's the new financial year. So don't assume कि मैं January में किया था, April में कुछ change नहीं है. Still you will have to update it. So now that you have got a passport, it is good to travel, right? You're ready to travel. But then generally, sir, if you travel or if you want to travel abroad for holidays and things, what do? Do you consult your friends and family when you want to go to a holiday for a place? What we can do, where we should go, whether we should go to Vietnam or to go to South Africa, or if you're going to London, do you consult some travel agent and take guidance from them? You do, right? सुनते सबकी हो, करती अपनी हो, but सुनते हो. Yeah, you will obviously get an idea. Why? Because you want experience, you want help, you want assistance, you want जो गलती उन्होंने किया आप नहीं करो. Similarly, as country, as government, every dollar you earn is important for us because we are always trade deficit. We have a high import and less exports. So to promote and to support you as an exporter, government is very, very keen. But what challenges you face as gems and jewelry are different from my garment manufacturers or exporters. My chemical guys have a different process and problems and a different issue. So what do? To help you, support you, those friends and travel agents and the assistants and online information hand-holding which you were doing for your travel trip and looking at blogs, we have government who has created a body called Export Promotion Councils. We have 39 of those export promotion councils divided based on the product category, and obviously all of you fall under the Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Council, GJEPC. I don't need to introduce GJEPC to all of you. But understand the context. And very simply put, they have a single aim. And not only GJEPC, of course for you GJEPC will be there, but for our Export Promotion Council, the single aim is export promotion. How? By helping you on product issue, by assisting you in terms of product marketing, by assisting you in terms of supporting with buyers, assisting you in terms of compliance and procedure document, helping you in terms of know-how and knowledge, doing something like this today, doing something like the exhibition here, taking delegations and exhibitions abroad, taking your challenges to the government and saying, boss, this procedure is not true, this procedure is to be changed. And they will focus on export and export only. And obviously there are sometimes some places where you are able to get some benefits or incentives or kickbacks as well in form of some support so that you can be pushed in exports. What you for us to enjoy this, you are required to become member of the export by registering and getting a certificate called Registration Cum Membership Certificate, RCMC. It's an annual paid fee. Every financial year you'll have to renew it, but in return, you are able to get much out of it. Now, obviously, when you get much, when you participate, last year मैंने किया था, January में, 1st January, went and paid for a gym, 1 साल का membership. But then I did not go. And then I blamed the gym. So don't do that. So merely becoming a member of a council will not give you. You'll have to come to sessions like this. You'll have to attend events. You'll have to attend meetings. You'll have to participate in the process which they arrange for you. But they are there to help. If you have a challenge, if you have an issue, if you have a problem, come to the council, they'll be able to help you. Please understand, they are not your export managers. They are not there to run your business. The business has to be run by you. But if you have challenges, if you are having some issue in technical that the buyer is not ready to do this, or buyer says, I buy from India regularly and I get this, and I am talking to my clearing agent or my broker or my transporter, he says it will not happen. So where is the problem? Where is the knowledge issue? Where is the lacuna? Who is right, who is wrong? Or who can be a good agent who can help me export the goods, or which courier company, or which company where I will use so that I can get a good packaging done my product. Export promotion councils, and you can get it registered on RCMC. Finally, one last bit as a setting up the business or setting up the company is to register with the customs authority, because the goods are going to go physically outside the country through customs. Customs require you to register your bank account, which is called the authorized dealer, AD, and because you deal with gems and jewelry and a high precious product, a manual KYC is also required to be done. Good news, with support of the Export Promotion Council, that's GJEPC, one amendment has recently updated that many times this manual KYC was taking a lot of time, and the first order by an exporter was getting stopped for about 2 months, 3 months, 4 months and on. So now at least a notice has been issued that if it's your first order and your manual KYC is not done, export will not be stopped. Export will be allowed, and from that day, within 1 month, customs will complete and close the manual KYC. So at least that time has been reduced. There are efforts being made to make it more quicker, faster, more simpler, more easier. Now, why are we discussing this on that very basic stuff is to understand and to give you, this is like, filling up ammunition. If you want to have a long shot on the sling, पीछे जाना पड़ता है. You have to fill in the ammunition. I don't want you to fail or falter that when you get an order and then the buyer is saying, अच्छा माल भेज दो, your goods are ready, everything is done, but you don't have an IC only. And then you don't know what is it. Or you don't know that the IC में manual KYC होगा, which will take 3 months. And the buyer wants it tomorrow. So let us get prepared. Let us keep this ready so that we are ready to scale up and go ahead. All right? So that's the number 2, or number 3 is to act. That was ice gate, yeah. Number 3, the next part is to select the product. So very quickly, many of you are comfortably sitting here, so let's awake you up. If given a choice today and you will start export business, what is that export product which you want to export out of India? What is that product you want to export? Give me one product if you can. Anybody? So you want to start? Gold jewelry, okay. Necklace, okay. Loose diamonds, okay. Diamond jewelry. Diamond jewelry. Anybody else? Okay, I'll reiterate your question again. They have said, but I'll reiterate. Give me a product which you want to export out of India if given a choice today to you. Are you want to try? No. Yes, please. Diamond jewelry, yes. Anybody here? So you want to try? Machinery, okay. So see, all of you are right, but please understand the context with a sense. Most of you gave me a category and not the product. So there's nothing like a product called diamond jewelry. Either has to be diamond necklace or diamond earring or a diamond bracelet, something. A product is what I was asking you for. Sir, machinery करके कोई product नहीं है, because machinery is huge. I don't know which machinery. Tomorrow you might be doing a machinery which is related to gold jewelry or which is related to diamond jewelry. I don't know. For that matter, loose diamonds, I will consider it as a little bit of a product specific. But again, you could have just said me a solitaire. Why is this important? Is because there is something called as selection of product. We all know, and you would have done this and you would have seen this in your domestic business also, all your products don't sell well. In the collection of the products, some are very good, in some you are very good, in some you are doing it, but यार अपनी expertise नहीं है. You might be doing gold jewelry sir, but आपका necklace में आपका नाम बहुत बड़ा है, ब्रेसलेट में अच्छा है, इयररिंग्स में ठीक है, ऑर्डर आ जाते हैं, बट दैट्स नॉट अवर फोर्टे. Maybe antique is your USP, but not otherwise. Or maybe antique you can't deliver because you don't have those kind of artisans and designers or production. Or maybe somebody has studded jewelry. They want to put more of other things. Product is selecting that specific item. Because, and when I say this, somebody will say, sir, हमारे industry में तो 50 item बन जाएगी. I am saying 50 नहीं, 500 बनने दो. And then you start putting up to test that whether that product is relevant to overseas market. अरे आप बहुत बढ़िया सा क्या है बाजूबंद बनाते हो, बहुत बढ़िया सा. Is it relevant in overseas market? Are you able to sell बाजूबंद overseas? देखने के लिए बहुत बढ़िया है, but maybe it's very good for a magazine cover, but is it going to give you more business? I don't think so. So you will have to then start thinking कि बस मेरे पास 500 आइटम है, but is it relevant to the market and the product internationally? Are people really looking at it? I'm very good at giving very high value, very huge, very large necklaces. But today the demand is people don't want those heavy. I mean, people want to wear a simple one big diamond necklace. उनको तामझाम नहीं चाहिए. I'm just giving my view of it. Not necessary it has to be true. So the idea is you प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी नहीं है अपने पास. बड़ी ज्वेलरी बनाने के लिए बड़ा पैसा लगेगा. Do you have capacity? Because remember, you're talking about international business. The volumes will be little higher. The values are already higher for your product. And then there will be a gestation time for payment to come. It is unlike कि भाई अच्छा ठीक है 10 पीस दे देना मेरे को. 10 पीस नहीं होगा, 100 पीस का ऑर्डर आएगा. And one piece is, let's say, probably 1 kg of gold. Do you have that investment power? Do you have that manufacturing power? It's a very good, very, very intricate designed Vara necklace, which takes about 3.5 months to make. Do you think a buyer is going to wait for 6 to 7 months for your product to be manufactured and shipped? So that's where you will filter down from your 500 to 50 to 5, which will become your core. And not only that, one small thing which you will have to also add is, sir, when you are talking about loose diamonds, and generally you can do it, but it's what you have to offer. Are you able to adapt your product? India में शायद छोटे diamonds, small one, because people have probably limited money. But and that doesn't mean that you cannot give a bigger diamond. You can give a bigger carat. You can give a 1 carat, 2 carat, 5 carat, whatever. But then you'll have to see the market. What is it? Can you adapt? Can you change? Somebody I was speaking to, I said, sir, chain का normal size क्या होता है? 10 इंच, 12 इंच? क्या मैं 12.5 बना सकते हैं आप? बना सकते हैं ना actually तो, but बनाना है, because probably where you are selling it, the length is not measured in inches, it is measured in centimeters, and you have to give them 160 centimeters. So are your machines capable to modify that, or you are like, nahi sir, 10 लो, 12 लो, बस उसके आगे नहीं. So can you adapt your product based on the global requirement? I was other day in Kolhapur and Hupri and Kolhapur, if you know, they are into silver manufacturing, and especially they focus on what is called as pile. And I'm very clear, they focus on pile, they don't focus on anklets. Modification, adaptability. And what is different between a pile and anklet? It is a perception of design and way how you're going to look at it. But they only focus on that old traditional chandi ki pile. So you have to look at, can your product be adapted for international market? So out of that 50, 500 big list जो आपके पास है, ultimately you will realize. अच्छा उसमें realization में सर होगा ना कुछ diamonds में you like नहीं this other countries will compete a lot. Fair enough, अच्छा है ना, don't do effort. Do effort where your core area is. You are very good in gold jewelry for only finger rings. Focus there, na. Obviously remember that when the buyer comes, it's just like when you go and buy mobile phone, obviously you know कि दुकान में earphone भी मिलता है. वो बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है. But what is his specialty? Earphone, mobile cover ke mobile? Mobile. So mobile lene jaoge. So your specialty is finger ring. Now when I start doing business with you on finger ring, and once I develop, I might come and tell you, so what's your good name? संदीप जी, will you make necklace for me? मेरे को कुछ थोड़ा necklace का भी काम करवाना है आपसे. Obviously, सामने से आने वाले कोई नहीं मना करेगा. But will you put in effort? No, because that's not your core area. And how would you decide? By selecting that product. So you identify. And what will help you doing this? इससे क्या फायदा होगा? You will also be able to do the next part very effectively, and that is selecting the market. Because one thing you remember, and this is most common, I have told this multiple times, I'll reiterate, it is only in Indian Bollywood movies कि Bollywood actor 2 बाइक पे आता है और पैंट नहीं फटती. अभी तो वो 2 गाड़ी में भी आता है. आप ट्राई करोगे ना, that you want to cater to an Australian market and an US market and a Middle East market and an Indian market and an African market, trust me, पैसा पानी मेहनत सब कुछ आपका निचोड़ देगा. जिम करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी फिर. So you will have to focus. Your focus will then become, because now you will have selected product range, you obviously know, but my product, probably Africa is not a market because I'm only doing high value products. I'm only doing class products. I'm doing a, then that means you will be able to decide on market. So selection of market will happen effectively. There are key factors of every market. Some markets go on volume and or quantity. उनको सस्ता सुंदर टिकाऊ चाहिए. आप भले मर्सिडीज क्यों नहीं बेच रहे हो, पर मर्सिडीज नहीं है उनका डिमांड. उनको मारुति 800 ही चाहिए. आप भले 24 कैरेट 22 कैरेट पे बेस्ट ज्वेलरी बना रहे हो, सर मेरे को 22 कैरेट नहीं परवड़ता. अरे आप बोल रहे सर मैं अच्छा डिजाइन बना रहा हूं ना 18 कैरेट में, 18 भी नहीं परवड़ता सर हमको. So you will have to come back to their requirement, and you're like, boss, sorry, my company, my brand, I don't go for lower. I have to qualify myself as only full original 22 carats or 24 carats. Then that's not your market. Don't waste time there, because you'll keep on doing communication. You can keep on doing things. It will not hedge any eggs. कुछ आएगा ही नहीं. Ultimately तो आपको मना बोलना पड़ेगा, या either you will back out, either they will back out. तो फायदा नहीं. Which means out of 200 odd countries, you will then be able to focus on the core market, which is your. It's easy to enter. It is easy to work out. Your production capacity is limited, and you want to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Your production capacity is limited. You want to cater to a large market. कैसे बनाओगे? Same question. Handmade jewelry है 100 पीस, 200 पीस, 500 पीस नहीं बना सकते. यूएस वाले को तो 500 पीस एक साथ चाहिए. दे पाओगे? नहीं दे पाओगे. So don't go to US. Go to a market which is nearby, which requires smaller quantity, which is easier to handle, which is quicker to handle. Turnaround time is less. So you will then be choosing your product and your market. My ultimate aim is कि मेरा सब country में export हो. But आज मेरी capacity नहीं है. Today I am not in a position to cater to that market. Today I am not able to reach to that market. That's how I'm going to look at. One very interesting element in your selecting of market I could give you is a very interesting process, and today Government of India is very keen on doing this. It's a concept called free trade agreements. Now understand one thing, it's not a direct benefit to you, but you'll have to consider this, how you can best utilize. First of all, what is a fundamental thing? When you export, the country and the buyer imports. And when any country or any buyer imports, he has to pay customs duty. So the cost to the buyer is not only cost of the goods, but the duty as well. Under the free trade agreement, the idea is when 2 or more countries want to do more business, they will reduce or eliminate duties. Now think about this. If your buyer who is wanting to buy from India not only gets a best product at a good price, but also does not have to pay duty, तो वो India आएगा कि कहीं और जाएगा? Now, to bring into your sales is your skill, but at least he'll come to India. He'll come to India, and we have examples for it. We have about 20 to 22 odd free trade agreements. But just to give you a very recent example, we have an India-UAE SEPA agreement where if you export gold jewelry, the normal duty is 5%. But because of the agreement, Indian gold jewelry, the buyer has to pay 0. Australia, similarly, I've given an example for silver. You export silver jewelry to Australia, it is again 5%, but your buyer ends up paying 0. It's not your direct benefit, but it is obviously a added incentive to the buyer if you focus on those markets. So while you are identifying markets, if those markets have FTAs, like Korea, like Japan, like Philippines, like ASEAN countries, then it could be a win-win situation for you because convincing that buyer is little more easier. So look at that when you are looking to select the market. So you are ready with your company, you have got your passports in place, you've got your registration in place, you have selected the product, not gold jewelry may be specific, you have selected your market. Now what do you need? And आगे इसके लिए बैठे वो, है ना? मुद्दे का बात करो सर, कस्टमर, बायर लाके दो. Well, to be very honest, if I had buyer in my pocket, I would also be on that side and not this side. Any buyer, whether it is a domestic business or an international business, it is a process, it's not a ready-made option. मैं आपका buyer ले लूँ या आप मेरा buyer ले लो, ऐसा नहीं है. It's a process which you'll have to get into it. And that happens through a concept which is called as marketing. And I'll give you a very simple example to understand this, that why and what is the need of marketing. Prime time news at 9 p.m. is the most expensive slot for a TV advertising industry, correct? And every second counts. We all probably know that NDTV, ABP, Star News, whatever, whichever news channel you watch, everyone has their own websites, obviously, right? It's an understood, even nahi malum hoga to mil jayega, Google karoge to. But still, to make sure that you come down to their website, at each of this prime time, they will spend about 3 to 4 seconds saying, for more news and update, please log on to www.ndtv.com. क्यों? इसमें ad डाल दो ना यार, पैसे मिलेंगे. So if a company which is established, company where they can earn money, still has to pull in and keep you telling about marketing, about they being there, online, offline, most of you present here are not into exports. Most of you don't even have a website. Who in the world knows you? क्या आप exist भी करते हो, आपका कोई company है, आप gold jewelry बनाते हो, आप diamond में करते हो, who knows you? And if nobody knows you, then how will they come to you? So you will have to put in effort to tell the world, and once you start telling them, obviously the discussion will happen. So there are some tools which are used domestically are also capable of using internationally, and it should be used to get your buyers or get to reach to the buyers. 8 of them is what I have identified and given it to you. We will not discuss all 8, but couple of them for your understanding. Friends and relatives, correspondence and communication, personal visits, agents, exhibitions and trade fairs, delegations, buyer-seller meets and advertisements. And by the way, ये कोई recipe नहीं है कि this will happen and then this will happen and then this will happen. It is a combination. It can work for, let's say, for somebody. So what's your good name? Vedant. So for Vedant and the company, maybe friends and relatives work. For sir at the back, maybe an exhibition can work. An exhibition with an advertisement can work. For Sandeep ji, it could be a personal visit and an advertisement can work. It's a combination which is, we call it as an homeopathy medicine, customized to your requirement. आपके लिए क्या काम करेगा मुझे नहीं मालूम, but काम इसमें से ही करेगा. And some of them are very, very core to our industry, like friends and family. I don't have to explain you why, because you know in this business, 90% of the businesses are done through friends and family, whether in domestic, whether your import part of the story. तो अगर import में चलता है वैसा कि आपने एक cousin, आपने एक भाई, आपका एक friend, आपका एक known एंटवर्प में बैठा है, एक हांगकांग में बैठा है, और एक इंडिया में बैठा है और धंधा बढ़िया हो रहा है, और एवरी टाइम somebody has been gone there, the business have grown, अगर ये import पे हो सकता था, export पे क्यों नहीं हो सकता? Now the point is you'll have to only get into somebody. Either somebody has to go and stay there, or you'll have to find a friend or a family member who is already there. Friends and family. Advantage number one, trust. They trust you, you trust them. And your business obviously has two big problems. Number one, it is the most high value products. And number two, it is very, very low on trust, because you don't only not only have to trust on the person to give you money, you have to trust on the person to even hold the product. Gems and jewelry, it is very difficult to say that, because you never know the price fluctuation, you never know what will happen, you can't, it cannot say कि अच्छा ठीक है मैंने 5 कार्टन सैंपल के लिए यूज कर लिया, हाँ साहब के 5 डायमंड में सैंपल के लिए नहीं यूज कर सकता, क्यों दिखाना था सैंपल दिखा दिया. Sorry. So friends and relatives are one of your core segment. Identify them, talk to them, think about them, discuss with them the idea about export. You selling, you manufacturing in India, selling them abroad, and they're doing the business there. Why not? Why can't it happen? The second most an effective tool is to look at personal visits. Wasn't it 3:15? 3 o'clock. Okay, give me 5 minutes. Sorry. I think I read 3:50. Personal visits. You can't learn swimming by looking at a YouTube video. लोगों ने गलती की थी. कोविड में गिटार सीखा यूट्यूब पे, बजाया तो वही गिटार पड़ा. So you'll, for certain things you'll have to go in person. Your product is also equivalent to that. It is when you sit in front of a buyer, you will understand what the buyer wants, what it is, how it is. You will have to make an effort and go and meet the buyer. You do this in domestic business. You come from Rajasthan to Delhi to Chennai to Bangalore and come to Bombay, and from Bombay you go to other places. Then why can't you go to Bombay to Dubai, and Bombay to Colombo, and Bombay to Dhaka, and Bombay to London, and Bombay to New York? What's the problem? I don't see any logic. Cost ज़्यादा है तो पैसे भी ज़्यादा है ना, business भी ज़्यादा है. It's as simple as that. It will break lot of your challenges. You will have to invest in going and meeting people. But these two tools require one important ingredient. Personal visits or friends and family is that you should have people on the other side. A friend is ready to go, but he says, sir, मेरे को 5 मीटिंग लगा के तो मैं चलता हूँ कल. But 5 जन तो होने चाहिए, 10 जन तो होना चाहिए. That means you don't have number of people, or you might not have that number of relatives or people to understand or to meet. Or how do you get that big number? And for that, we have one of a very interesting tool called exhibitions and trade fairs. ये एक इतना बढ़िया tool है, which I say it is one to many. The moment you are an exhibitor, you are telling the world you are there to sell. And a moment a visitor comes to your stall, he doesn't know you, he's never heard of you, he has no relation with you, he has nothing at all, but still he will walk into your stall, talk to you, and probably be interested in your product. And out of like these, if you have 500 visitors a day, all 500 are not going to give you business, but from 500, you will communicate and you'll get some response from 100. Out of 100, 50 will talk to you, and then 5 will probably give you an appointment for a personal visit. And effectively, एक ही जन चाहिए आपको order के लिए. And if I'm talking about a 3-day exhibition, multiply by 3 times. Good enough for me to start. So exhibitions and trade fairs is something which you need to be focused on and look at that benefit and the potential which you can do. Obviously, ये सब में खर्चा है. I'm not saying that it is all coming free of cost. But then this is how you'll have to invest. This is how you have to mitigate. And that's why I said it is not a side business. पैसा time मिलेगा तो करूँगा नहीं. You'll have to allocate. You'll have to decide. You'll have to. Another thing also remember, it cannot be 1 + 1. मैंने exhibition में 5 लाख डाला तो मुझे 5 लाख का order मिलना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं होता. Today you invest in one exhibition, two exhibition, three exhibition. At one day suddenly you'll receive probably return back. But you cannot just map it 1:1. We have a list of exhibitions which GJPC or the Export Promotion Council helps you or participates so that you are also supported that by not just going unknown or alone, but maybe as a part of a group or part of a GJPC. In certain cases, there are some airfare discounts and exhibition stall charges discounts, some support which is available through the ministry. So that is all available on the GJPC website. I'll request you to have a look at it and maybe take benefit of those schemes as well. Last point which I want to discuss on this is buyer-seller meet. Now, many of you are still reluctant or still dependable. Sir, I can't participate in an exhibition, or I don't have that many manpower, I don't have people, I have probably a language problem, हमको English नहीं आता है, ये वो, whatever be the case. Well, we have a process called buyer-seller meet, where just like how you have those shadi.com and jeevansathi.com matrimonial sites, आप आपका बायोडेटा डालो, दूसरे का बायोडेटा, फिर वो मैच करके देंगे. Exactly the same thing happens in the buyer-seller meet. So unlike quantity in the exhibition, where obviously I can come to you, your stall, and you talk about diamond jewelry, I can meet, I can say hi, hello, how are you? But in a buyer-seller meet, you will only get 10, you will only get 25. And the good part is, your profile will already be pre-matched by the organizers like the Export Promotion Councils, and the buyer who has agreed, who knows you are into gold jewelry, you are into necklace, you are into antiques, और मुझे आपके में interest है, only then we will meet. And then that 45 minutes of meeting is only with that 40 people, 10 people, 20 people. So it is quality over quantity, but you have. I believe there is some buyer-seller meets happening next month by GJPC. Have a look at their website. They'll give you some more details. All right. Quickly, e-commerce. Obviously, if you are interested in online business, I'm sure today we are looking at e-commerce. So registering on your own website or having presence on platforms or social media sites is obviously another added boon to go along online. All right. Couple of points before we wrap up, and that's going to be the end of the session. One is incentives. Now, I am leaving this to you with a very limited point because I don't want you to focus too much on it. And what is this incentives? Because you export, government gives you something back. First, don't do it because of incentives. You get incentives in form of drawback, which is duty, refund of the gold which you pay. So because you import gold, there is a duty element, so you get a refund of that. Either you get ROTTEP benefits, you have an option to import gold duty free for the purpose of manufacturing jewelry and export. So those are incentives available, but understand the bottom line there. The idea is to give you incentives to make your cost duty free. So when you are manufacturing goods for export, there should not be any duties and taxes in the product which you export. And that's what the aim of incentive is. Don't do export just because you are getting incentive. That's not the aim. Okay? But you get it. And why you need to know about it? Because when that final thing happens with the buyer and आपके बीच में वो negotiation चल रहा है ना, for that 1% or 0.5%, तभी ये याद रखना कि yes, there's something which I will get. From that 0.5%, I'll get at least 0.3% from my incentive, or I'll get some 0.1%. So at least now I can negotiate on a little smaller value. And last but not the least is compliance. While we focus on getting the buyer, while we focus on the product, while we focus on getting buyer's approval, we miss on some very, very basic principles or making sure that what is there and what we write on the documents is the same. Product जा रहा है 18 कैरेट, आप लिखते हो 22 कैरेट. Product में 10 डायमंड है, आपने लिखा है 12. It is 2 piece, that is 2 earrings as a set, but you have written 2 pieces set, which is 4. So doing wrong will only make life later problem, because today you will export, Today you'll be happy, but then tomorrow you'll have a love letter coming to you after 2 years and 3 years saying, listen, you had exported that, na? And then you made a mistake, and you said you're going to get this. So now get this meme back. Your order is in Singapore dollars, but you have by mistake written US dollars. 20,000 Singapore dollar और लाना है लिखा है 20,000 US dollars. Who is going to bring that more money? But it happened. Mistake happened. You come in. So compliance. And to be very honest, there is a big challenge in terms of compliance because in exports, it's not just one agency. You have the foreign trade policy, you have the DGFT, you have the customs, you have the RBI, you have the GST authority, so there are multiple agencies looking at your one transaction. It is not difficult with only when you focus and understand that I will do it. I will not do cut corners. I will not do on anything else. So it is very, very essential for you to make sure that you consider the compliance. And with that, I have to tell you a very, very most important part for all of you who have been there till today and till this point of time is thank you guys. You are wonderful. As promised, that's the link to the presentation if you wish to copy and download it. You were really helpful. I hope the time you spent, it was valuable to you as well. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Team GGPC. Archana, thank you so much for inviting again. And have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to request Archana Pandey from GJEPC, the MSMA GJEPC, to kindly join us here for a felicitation. People in the audience, we request you to kindly stay in your seats so we can proceed with our next session.